Building your own energy ecosystem empire where you capture the sun to run your house and your car and you store any excess in a lovely home battery does sound very logical here.
But it turns out it's just as logical here, and we're in Stoke-on-Trent where it is -6 degrees C. And we're here to meet GivEnergy to find out how to build your own home energy empire and even how to make some money in the process.
Like everything electric? You'll love our fun-packed Everything Electric expos around the world. Next up, Australia and London. Remember, energy and transport professionals go for free on the first day.
So GivEnergy make all the various different bits and bobs that you need to bring your home energy ecosystem together, from really simple things like Wi-Fi enabled plugs to 2.6 kilowatt hour home batteries, from 5.2 to 9.5 kilowatt hour batteries. They also make inverters. This one here is a hybrid inverter, so it can work with both your solar panels and with your battery, and has a really useful display so you can see exactly where the energy is going to. And all of that is brought together in this really handy portal so you can see exactly how your energy is working in your home. And we tend to talk about these things in terms of how those technologies work, but what we don't normally address is where on earth do you begin? And that's what I'm hoping to find out today. So we're currently stood by the workshop area where installers come here, learn how to fix this stuff, install this stuff. But I've got some questions that kind of precede that. Where on earth does someone begin? If they know they want to sort of install some of this technology, what on earth do they start with?
It's a really good question. I think, it's different strokes for different folks at the end of the day. Everybody's got a different starting point on this journey. Fundamentally, that's where channels like Everything Electric really kind of come into their own, I think. We've got, I'm gonna brag. We've got our own sort of really nice community of people as well online, where if you are completely sort of ambivalent to this, you don't really know what you need and what you might want, that's always a nice place to start. Try and educate yourself as much as possible. We try and support our customers as much as that too, but there's lots of things out there on the internet that can really help with that as well.
Okay, so I've done a little bit of research. Assume I've done a bit of research.
Yeah.
And then I look at my home, and then who do I need to speak to? Because it feels a bit confusing with regards to installers, manufacturers, energy companies. How do those different groups of people come together?
Absolutely. It can be a bit of a minefield, definitely. If you know the equipment that you want, the best place to start is with an installer. And if you go to our website, which is just giveenergy.co.uk, then on there, we've got a dedicated platform, which is our installer hub. So every installer on there has done our training. They're accredited by us. So we know that they know what they're doing, essentially. They will then sort of spec up and price up for you. And most of them should be able to do everything for you. So you get your GivEnergy kit, your panels if you wanted them, heat pumps, whatever it may be. They can do the whole thing.
And you've got a whole suite of stuff from 2.5 kilowatt hour batteries, 2.6 kilowatt hour home batteries, all the way up to 9.5.
Yeah.
How do I know how much I'd need, and what kind of support would I get from GivEnergy in determining what I would need?
I think the best place to start would really be to try and work out your energy usage. So if you've got a smart meter, that's pretty straightforward. You can just kind of get that information straight away from your supplier. If you're a little bit more old fashioned, if you haven't got that, it might be a case of trying to break down your monthly or annual usage into daily amounts and then trying to match from our product range exactly what you want. So if you use maybe 10 kilowatt hours a day, which is quite a high energy user, you might want to go for a 9.5 kilowatt hour battery, or you could go for our all-in-one unit, which is a 13.5 kilowatt hour inverter and battery together. If you overspec it, then you can make use of things like our Give Back service, which is a DFS service, and earn money for the energy that you're sending back to the grid as well.
So all-in-one system, that's inverter and battery, so that works with solar panels that you'd have.
Exactly, yeah.
Got it. And Give Back, I know I have so many more questions about that. I think I'm going to speak to one of your colleagues.
Yeah.
But that feels like the opportunity to buy low, sell high seems very, very dreamy. I guess it sort of wouldn't necessarily be typical for people to just buy the whole suite of stuff. You'd need quite a big budget to do that. What do you generally find is the entry point? Do people start with the smart plugs and then build from there?
Yeah, I mean, typically, a lot of our customers are sort of battling with either having battery and solar, or maybe solar first or battery first. If you go battery first, that's normally a cheaper route to do it, especially in the next coming weeks, or maybe when by the time this is out, there'll be 0% VAT on batteries as well. So that is a massive saving for people. And typically, that's a nice entry point as well. We've just launched an EV charger too.
So 1st February, order the battery.
Exactly. Get online and do it.
you work with installers who ultimately determine the price of these things.
Yeah.
But what kind of budget do people need to set aside if they were looking at installing a home battery or the whole sort of gambit of stuff?
So for the installation, it really depends on where you live, to be honest with you, and kind of the caveats of your house. If you've got a maybe older house that requires more work, then obviously that's going to inflate the price a lot too. For our equipment, typically you're looking at about £4,000. That's sort of like a rough ballpark for the battery and the inverter.
But once everything's installed, then what? How do you manage all of the bits of tech? So imagine I've got all of my sort of physical bits of hardware, I've got an inverter, I've got my battery, I've got a charger. How does that come together and how can I see what's going on?
Okay. So I had my all-in-one installed a couple of weeks ago.
So all-in-one, that means all the...
So a battery and an inverter in one case. My installer kindly loaded the GivEnergy app on my phone. Although I'm the MD, I am actually a layman, so I kind of know what happens-ish, but not to the detail of the experts within the business. So here's the home screen on the app. So most of the time, this is how I assess my energy consumption, just on the dead basic screen, and at the bottom I can see how much battery charge is remaining. Mm-hmm. I charge my battery at my nighttime rate, 12:30 till 4:30. That's set up, connected to my smart tariff already. So I'm always just keen to see how much battery is left. It approximately lasts a full day. So if we're doing a lot of washing, all those things, it's a bit less, but on a normal day, charge the battery at the cheap rate, it lasts the whole day.
So you're charging up at night when you're taking advantage of the lower rate and then discharging through the day. So you're effectively getting the nighttime rate through the day.
Exactly. So yeah, saving about £4 or £5 a day on my home electricity.
£4 or £5 a day?
Yeah.
That is extraordinary. Okay, are there any other insights that you've been able to get from this? There were things where you can say, oh, we should probably be turning off X, Y, Z.
Yeah. So I'll show you a couple of other things that I use. So I go into the data graphs.
Mm-hmm.
Now, I don't use all of the features at all here, but what I look at is when do I charge my battery? So in my nighttime slot, and when do I discharge my battery in the daytime? I have the GivEnergy EV charger as well. So the vehicle's not plugged in, it's in the car park here. But again, I've set up my charge slot, so I plug my car in before I go to bed. It magically turns on at midnight, finishes charging at 4:30 to get the best possible price for my charging. If I've done a lot of mileage, I can set it up differently to charge to the amount that I need. The other thing is the Give DFS.
So I wanted to ask you about Give Back DFS, not to be confused with the sofa company, but actually about that dynamic exchange of energy with the grid. What's the incentive for me as a customer if I was to have that?
Okay, so in my own example, I don't want to play about with it. I signed up, took about 5 minutes, and then I get an email, which actually happened yesterday. So yesterday morning, I got an email, it's going to be really cold tonight, between 5:30 and 6:30. We want to use your energy to sell back to the grid. Great, I don't need to do anything. My settings are automatically updated. So instead of me using my battery between 4 and 5:30, I was charging my battery.
Mm-hmm.
Then my battery was discharged back to the grid instead of my house between 5:30 and 6:30. All I know is I got one email saying it's going to happen. I got an email back this morning saying I earned £24 because it did happen and I didn't need to touch anything.
£24?
Yeah.
That is absolutely extraordinary from one day.
Yeah.
So the incentive is absolutely huge, especially when you you look at £4 or £5 a day that you're saving on energy, plus those instances of giving back to the grid, and you didn't have to do a single thing.
Yeah. So for me, yes, I made money and it was dead easy, but also we didn't need to turn on a coal power station. We didn't need to import electricity from abroad. So helping the environment, helping the economy, but earning money as well.
But the real magic is that this stuff isn't just reserved for homes, but in fact can be used for commercial buildings like schools, hospitals, and even offices. And in fact, this office is entirely battery powered.
So this is one of our commercial storage solutions. So after the domestic, we scale up and get to the bigger ones that are good for offices, hotels, office buildings, factories, and anything in between all of them. They're largely made up of these little packs, which are very similar to the domestic solution. So it's a 10.8 kilowatt hour pack, and then the whole system behind me here is up to 600 kilowatt hours for this particular building. So that's roughly about what our building uses each day. So we charge this up off one of the cheap night rates and then let that discharge throughout the day to the load of the building. And the important factor is we keep the grid to 0 kilowatts throughout the day. In the winter, we struggle a little bit because we're all electric heating in the building. So we often quite run out at maybe 3 p.m, 4 p.m. and have to pull a little bit from the grid. But during the summer, we've got a big solar system on the roof, and that covers all of our usage, keeping us at 0, even with all the car chargers out in the car park there.
So we're here in sort of a shipping container on site. It does take up a little bit of room. What's the kind of key benefit for a business such as yourselves to run their offices or hospital or school or what have you using batteries?
Energy price is the biggest thing, really. So recently we've experienced all the fluctuation in energy price. We've been really high. It's come down a bit. We don't think it's going to go back to where it was 2 years ago. So that energy security, knowing how much you're paying for your energy, that's really, really key. And then you can sort of progress your business knowing you're not going to experience a super high bill in the future. The container solutions, you mentioned that they're really good at enabling you to have a battery if you haven't got space inside. You can see this kit is quite large, so having the shipping container converted allows you to have it outside in your car park, in the field or anything like that.
I'm going to head back in because there's one more thing that I want to show you. But before I do, I want to find out a bit more about GivEnergy's plans to expand into Australia, where over 30% of homes already have solar. Now compare that to the UK, where just 4.1% of homes have solar. I spoke with Martin Cobb, the GivEnergy Australia MD, to find out why is GivEnergy expanding into Australia. Martin, tell us about why GivEnergy is moving to Australia or expanding into Australia.
We're approaching 4 million homes with solar, residential homes, which is actually per capita the most highest density of solar uptake in the world on rooftop solar, and only 2 or 3% of that have got batteries. So we have huge opportunity, very, very aggressive government targets. 2030, 82% renewable targets, and storage being 18 gigawatts is going to open up the doors for significant players. We have a very large grid. In fact, I believe it's the largest interconnected grid in the world, from Darwin down through to South Australia. There's only a population of about 23 million people that service that grid, or that grid services, I should say. And it makes the geographic challenge difficult. But when you've got a very progressive government on renewable targets, when you've got great irradiation, huge uptake on solar, batteries are a good fit. And with VPPs being launched now across the board in the retailer market, it's going to make the uptake of batteries much faster than what it's been in the last couple of years. So the market's been growing at about 20 to 30% each year for the last 2 or 3 years, but it's 2024 we expect a much bigger uptake with the launch of a number of VPP platforms that'll just enable that payback.
But what exactly is a virtual power plant and how are they being received in Australia?
So the virtual power plant in batteries on a residential front just aren't big enough to become a significant influence on the grid. So instead, you'll have, I think they call it swarming in Germany, you'll have electricity retailers that can automate their tariff programs with consumers in their home to be able to exchange the energy when it's needed. So if the grid's got an excess in there, people can top up their batteries, and vice versa, probably more importantly, when the grid's in need of some cheaper electricity, we can borrow that from consumers or buy it off consumers as long as they're part of the VPP network. We have a very, very dynamic wholesale electricity rate. It can vary from energy can be minus 2 cents at 12 o'clock in the day, and it can 5 hours later it can be $12 a kilowatt hour. It's quite extraordinary, the volatility of the Australian market. So battery is going to have a big impact with the use of the VPP platforms that these energy companies make available to the Australian consumer.
So big things are on the horizon in Australia with regards to energy storage. But back in the UK, we've still got one more thing to see. I have to show you this. This isn't a filing cabinet. It is in fact a group of stackable batteries which you can build on top of each other like Lego bricks. And it's paired with this, a 3-phase system, which is coming very soon. But that is all that we've got time for today, so please do like and subscribe, and if you have been, thanks for watching.